jam, but there were no intersecting roads, no further entrances or exits. Once you were in Lower Snaverton, if you found you didn't like it, you had no choice but to turn round and go back the way you came. The journey took him through the beautiful fen country. Many people found the fens bleak, flat, uncompromising, and rather boring. But Sir Flyte had always felt something about the stark isolation of it all matched something within him. Not that he was stark and bleak, but that he felt in his bones his ancestors had seen this identical landscape. The fens were tied to the past. His past. Sir Flyte was all about the past. He was an expert in the old masters and, apart from a handful of impressionists, excepting Gauguin, he detested Gauguin, both the man and his work. Modern art interested him not one jot. His expertise had carried him into a place of honour as Master of Hardwick College at the University of Cambridge. He could hardly believe the title himself, let alone the Sir before his name. His father, if anything, had been anti-intellectual, a commercial traveller who was all about hail-fellowing and business deals. In his absence, amidst his many disappearances into pubs, for work, his mother had been the one who made sure there were books on the shelves and galleries to visit and plays to see. Many of their weekend outings included visits to museums, which was, of course, where he met the love of his life, Rembrandt. Ahead he saw the turn-off for Lower Snaverton and slowed the car for a left turn. Over the years, there had been more traffic build-up than could be believed, but once he was off the main artery and passing the ornate sign for the village, with its unlikely coat of arms, the familiar landmarks presented themselves. He was surprised the dress shop had hung on, a bastion of flowery tweeness in a world long moved on to latex and internet shopping. The post office had closed a decade before, along with the butcher, but the tea shop, which looked like something that might have been mentioned in the Doomsday Book, was still operating. One woman, clearly a customer of Viola's dress shop, was visible in the window as he drove by. She didn't bother to hide her curiosity at this rare visitor, and she waved energetically to him as he passed. He supposed his aunt had told the village of his impending arrival. It only took one person to be informed, for the whole village to know. Of course, there was a pub, the Queen's Arms, not yet open for gossip, and a church, St. Michael's in Glory, limited now to saving souls every other Sunday when the priests they shared with nearby villages came to town. "He's like a gunslinger in an old Western film," Beatrice had told him, "dropping in every other week to keep the peace." He felt at ease as he drove, as comforted by these sights as if this were a homecoming, although his real home of origin was London. As soon as he reached the edge of the village proper and saw the house, he was taken aback. It looked deserted, as if it had been deserted for some time. It was evident that nothing had been done to keep the place tidy. The garden was overgrown. A shutter hung loose at one of the windows. The brick path had sprouted weeds, and the flowers that could be bothered to bloom that summer had wilted and now lay where they had fallen. There being no drive up to the house, he parked the Audi by the gate opening into the walkway. The gate, like the shutter, hung by one hinge, and that hinge was red with rust. Beatrice had been expecting him, but he supposed anything like tidying up for visitors was beyond her now. Besides, she would be leaving soon. It did beg the question of who was going to buy a house that looked as if no one had ever cared about it. He sighed. If Beatrice planned to leave the house to him, he might have to oversee its being demolished, which would be a shame. But renovating even a small manor house circa the 18th century was a job for mad dogs and Americans with purses bursting with cash, and he couldn't imagine either wanting to live this far from anything. When his uncle Phineas had been alive, everything had been tended to and tied back, weeded and deadheaded, and fed with bone meal. Gardening